If you've an ounce of Scottish blood in your veins, or Scotland in your distant heritage, then listen on. Today I'm going to continue reading the stories from the Introducing Mr. B books. Mr. B is Robert Burns. They were written for children to read. Today's story is The Farmer and the Field Mouse.
"Brr, it's cold," Gilbert said to himself. He was ploughing a field with his two lovely brown Clydesdale horses, called Jock and Tam. As the horses pulled the plough through the earth, it groaned and hissed as the soil ran briefly along the plough's blade and flipped over. Suddenly Gilbert called, "Whoa, whoa!" and pulled hard on the reins. He wished he had said it sooner, because he had just seen a small field mouse's nest break and fall apart. Farmers understand animals, and they talk to them to soothe them or persuade them to do things. "Oh no!" screamed the mouse, as his house tumbled and collapsed. Suddenly he was upside down, and the straw walls were split wide open. He was thrown out onto the muddy ground. "Help!" he squeaked, this time even louder. Then he took a deep breath and ran as fast as his little legs could carry him. Gilbert looked down at the broken mouse's straw house and saw the mouse scurrying away. He said, "Oh, little animal, please don't be so scared and frightened. I know what you're thinking, and your little heart is probably racing. But if you just knew me better, you would know that you wouldn't have to rush away. I would never chase after you and try to do you any harm." The mouse stopped running and sat shivering and drew deep breaths. He looked back and he squeaked when he saw the giant Clydesdale horses and, to his tiny eyes, the equally giant man. Gilbert went on talking to the mouse, although he could not see where it was hiding. "I'm so sorry that big people like me have caused so much trouble for little animals like you. I wish that we could both live here on the farm happily. It would be much nicer if you didn't have to feel afraid every time you saw me." "Oh, blimey," the mouse thought. "I know he's probably going to be mad because I've been eating some of the corn from the field." Gilbert did not really know if the mouse was listening, but he continued to speak in a quiet voice that was gentle and meant to comfort the mouse. Just to prove that he understood how the mouse was feeling, Gilbert said, "Mr. Mouse, I'm sure you've been eating some of the corn from the field, but it's a very big field, and there's plenty here for you to take some to feed your family, and there will still be plenty left over for me." The horses stomped their big hooves and tossed their heads and tails, anxious to get on with the job. It was cold standing still, and their warm bodies had a gentle steam rising into the air. Meanwhile, behind the plough, on the freshly turned earth, a small flock of seagulls, crows, and other birds dined on the worms and bugs turned up in the earth. But Gilbert was not ready to start back to work yet, and continued speaking to the mouse. "I'm so sorry for what I've done to your house. It's completely broken, and the wind is blowing the straw away. Even worse, now that I've turned the soil, there'll be nothing for you to build a new nest. Both you and I know it's going to get so cold soon, because next month will be December, when the wind will blow and frost will come." The mouse shivered and looked around the field and knew that he would not be able to build a house here once the farmer had ploughed everything. Gilbert shook his head slowly in sympathy, and as he spoke, little puffy clouds of vapor came from his lips in the cold air. "It must be terrible for you, Mr. Mouse. I'm sure you saw the farm crops had all been taken in, and you knew that cold winter was coming soon. You're a clever little animal to have made such a warm and comfortable wee nest. There you were, nice and toasty warm, probably having a wee snooze, planning to spend the whole winter there, when suddenly, crash, I came along and knocked you out of your home. He bent down and picked up what was left of the mouse's nest. You know, Mr. Mouse, the more I look at your broken nest, the more impressed I am. I can see where you've taken the straw and chewed it to make it soft, so you could bend and weave it into the nest. But in spite of all your skillful building, I managed to break it, and now you'll have to endure winter sleet and frosty mornings. Just listen to him going on and on about what trouble I'll have with winter, thought the mouse. He doesn't realize I'm hiding and shaking because I'll be lucky to survive today, never mind winter. Now that I'm out of my nest, all those birds that are feasting on tasty, wriggling pink worms turned up by the plough might also decide to eat me. What if a hawk should spot me from its lofty gliding highway in the sky? Gilbert was still talking and said, You and I, Mouse, are not that different. We both make plans, and what happened today may make you think we shouldn't bother. Because the best plans of both mice and men can often fall apart. This makes us disappointed because we lost the things we'd hoped for. Still, little mouse, you're luckier than me. You just have to worry about today. I'm silly because I worry about things that happened a long time ago and the chances I've missed. As if that's not silly enough, I try to guess at the future, and I get worried about what's still to come. But I know what has to come now, and that's to finish ploughing this field. Come on, Jock, come on, Tam, let's get the job done. At last, the mouse thought. He has started ploughing again, and now he's reached the far end of the field. Ready, steady, fire, go! And the mouse sprinted from his hiding place to the freshly turned soil and started frantically to dig a hole to hide. He had just one thought, to dig quickly and get out of sight. But he was not quick enough. There was no sun on this cold November day, which was why the hungry hawk did not cast a warning shadow on the ground. His steely eyes spotted the mouse digging, and so the hawk immediately folded his wings and plummeted down, down, down. The wind raced past the hawk's tightly folded feathers, and it looked certain that he would crash into the ground. At the last possible second, he unfolded his wings and thrust forward his sharp talons and landed exactly where the mouse was digging. The mouse felt the rush of air from the wings opening, and with one mighty thrust of his tiny legs, he squished himself like a concertina into the hole. The hawk's talons slashed at the ground, but it could not reach the mouse, so it flew off in search of something else to eat. The mouse stayed absolutely still, scarcely drawing a breath for ages. Eventually, he had to move, and when he turned around and looked outside the hole, it was dark, because it was night time. Phew, he sighed. At least at night all the hawks and birds had gone to bed, and the farmer had left the field, so it was safer for him to come out. Slowly, ever so slowly, he poked his nose out and sniffed to see if he could smell any animals about, like cats. But no, all he could smell was freshly turned earth. Now he risked sticking his head out. Far away he could hear an owl hoot, and this made him quickly pull back inside the hole. Owls are great at hunting at night, but the one he heard sounded far, far away. He decided he would be okay to come out of the hole and make a run across the field. It was not easy to run because the farmer's plough had made great big, for a mouse, hills in the field. So it was up and over, and up and over, and up and over, time and time again, till he reached the edge of the field and a prickly hedgerow. The mouse knew he had only one chance now, and that was to build a new house right away under the hedge. The farmer could not plough there, so it would not get knocked down and broken. He gathered fallen leaves, bits of straw and grass, and started weaving and tucking to make a new nest. Now, people have difficulty seeing things at night, but mice have special eyes that can see in the dark. He worked hard all night, and eventually the nest was completed, just as dawn broke. He crawled inside and lay down on his new, soft, warm straw bed. He stretched. Then he yawned, and yawned again, and closed his eyes and drifted safely off to sleep.